Is there something wrong with golf instruction today or even in decades past, or is there something wrong with us as golfers that we're not getting it? We just simply are not improving. There's been a little bit of improvement. I know that a lot of people say there's been no improvement, but there has been a slight improvement in like the last 20 years. I believe the last time I looked it up, golfers had improved by almost 2 strokes. Regardless of where you stand on this issue, there is no mistaking the fact that when it comes to average golfers, amateur average golfers out there, we struggle to improve at the game. We cannot drop strokes. We really don't improve our handicaps that much. Why is that? Is it off the tee? Is it out of the fairway? Is it just general ball striking? What is it that's costing us the strokes and preventing us from getting down to low single-digit handicaps? We're gonna dive into a little bit of that today. Let's get going. Hey everybody, welcome back to Golf Test Dummy, the channel where I use my game to help your game. And I want to start off with a little something before we get too deep into this. For any of you out there that follow my good friend Marcus Edblad on his YouTube channel, if you haven't, I suggest you go check him out. He does a lot of great golf instruction. And Marcus is not only a very good golfer, but he's also an excellent golf coach. And beyond even that, he's a supreme human being. He's a genuinely great guy. He's a fantastic guy. He's been a really good friend to me. And if you watch his channel, you may have noticed in one of his recent videos, he mentioned some health issues that he's dealing with. And I don't presume to speak for Marcus. However, for the viewers of this channel that know Marcus or have seen Marcus, I will say this. If you are of the praying persuasion, I'm sure that he would be just fine if you sent some prayers over his way. And if you're not, just send some well wishes, send some positive vibes to help him through this. And if you really want to go for extra credit, he'll never ask. He will never ask for this. But there is a super thanks button on a lot of these YouTube channels, and Marcus has one down below. Now, the super thanks is a way that you can give a one-time donation, a one-time amount of money in whatever currency it is that you're dealing with for any amount. When you click that super thanks button, you can send him as little or as much as you want to send him. And with that, you can also send your comment and your love. Now, don't tell him that I told you to come and do that. Just go take it upon yourselves for the guys that want to do that. He can really use our help and support right now. Let's put our thoughts with Marcus. Now on to the video. I've got a 9-iron in my hand and I'm just warming up out here. Really, the things that I think about to make these videos about, the things that cross my mind, I want to try and put out the things that are going to help beginning golfers, people who are just now taking up the game, and then even the golfers who are on an intermediate level to help them get down to low single-digit figures. Now, I'm no pro. I am not any elite golfer. I wasn't on any golf tour, but I do feel like I can help some of the golfers out there, a good many of them. The vast majority of the golfing population sits above a 10 handicap. So I feel like I can help so many of you out there because I've gone through a lot of things myself. I've tried a lot of different conventional and unconventional methods, and I feel like I can help a lot of us sort of navigate the murky waters. And I can tell you this, I have come to believe through all of those trials and all of the reading and research and listening and watching and experimentation that I've done, I've come to believe that what people talk about often as being the fundamentals, they may not be so fundamental to everybody. What is a fundamental? It could be something that just applies to you, something personal to you specifically. But when I use the term fundamental in these videos out here in my studio, I'm referring to something that applies to everyone. I know some people that play some really great golf with some not so conventional swings. I even played golf before and know a guy who plays cross-handed to a professional level. Snappy Gilmore, I don't know if you've seen him or not, but he's a guy that makes a lot of TikToks and Instagram reels. He's pretty famous by this point. He was at the Waste Management Open. He plays, even though he has both hands, by twirling his club around and hitting shots with his right hand. I don't know if he would be nearly as good at ball striking if you put both hands on the club. But regardless, he hits all sorts of clubs and all sorts of shots one-handed. So when you think about things like that, I know a lot of people would argue that, well, that's an outlier. And certainly there's not a lot of people playing one-handed golf. They are outliers, but it just goes to show that if there is a portion of the population out there that maybe they don't have a choice, they only have one hand, or maybe combat veterans who have only one leg or sometimes even none, or not even the use of their legs. There's paraplegics that come out and play golf. There's blind golfers. When you think about those golfers and their ability to still play really good golf and probably beat a lot of us out here, you start to realize that what a lot of instructors talk about as fundamental is not really fundamental at all. The grip, for instance. Everybody starts with the grip. Ben Hogan's 5 lessons started with the grip. Look at Mo Norman's grip. He used a 10-finger. I know he also used an interlock or an overlap or whatever. That was for natural golf. I get it. You look at Jim Furyk. He uses a double overlap. You look at my friend who plays to a high level. He's an elite golfer, plays cross-handed. Snappy Gilmore, who could probably outdrive any one of us watching this video right now, plays one-handed. The grip is not a fundamental to everyone. It may be something that is a fundamental to you, your specific grip, but it's not a fundamental to everybody. Therefore, I do not consider it to be a fundamental on this channel. Another thing a lot of people are going to talk about is the setup. You've got to set up with your knees and your feet and your hips and your shoulders all square and stacked on top of each other. Nice balanced setup, 50-50 weight. Maybe some people even go 60-40 toward the front. But I've experimented with a lot of different swings, and I've seen a lot of different golfers play a lot of great golf without the conventional setup. And if it's not universal, then it's not a fundamental in my mind. I see people who set up closed. Jim Veneto sets up way closed. You want to go play Jim Veneto's for money? You want to go take him on and see if you can beat him on course? Go ahead. Let's see how that works out for you. But he sets up way closed. Then you look at somebody like Mo Norman, who had his feet spread really wide, and had his shoulders cocked back and set the club way behind the ball. Does his setup, does it resemble all of the stuff that's being taught to tour players nowadays? No, not even close. Jim Furyk sets up obnoxiously close to the ball. He's got his grip basically in his belly button. Jim Furyk is going to go down in the Hall of Fame as one of the greatest golfers to ever walk the face of the planet that we are currently on. He is unbelievably elite and skilled. His setup looks nothing like what they teach in the books. So again, a lot of people will say those are outliers. You can't look at them, but outliers give us pieces of information to let us know that maybe what everybody is saying is a fundamental, it's not really a true fundamental in the sense of the word. The only real fundamentals involve the club, the golf ball, the lie that the golf ball is on. This is universal. This is it. This is what everybody has to play with. This is a 9-iron. Of course, there's all kinds of different clubs, but basically, you get my point. These clubs are all kind of designed the same, from Callaway to Ping to Nike before they left, all the way through the bag, Cleveland, everything. They all are basically designed the same way. They got a club face, they got a sole, they got the back side of the club, they've got the shaft, they've got the hosel, they've got the ferrule, they've got the grip. And this club, when that ball's sitting on the turf, has to interact within certain tolerances a certain way. It has to act a fairly certain way in order to get consistent, repeatable, well-struck golf shots that fly as intended. So for me, if I were to list out the fundamentals, I usually talk about 4. One of them, and this is for a ball sitting on the turf, again, from hybrids, 3-wood, all the way down to wedges. If the ball is sitting on the turf, even if you want to hit a driver off the deck, you are going to have to contact the ball first, then the earth. All right, let me repeat that. You have to contact the ball first before your low point. Anything that's sitting on the ground. Now, it can be a 1/2 inch, or it can be your low point is 6 or 7 inches after the golf ball. That's getting into a whole realm of shot shaping and different types of lies and all that. But to make it as basic as possible, ball, then turf. Or in another interpretation, Hit the little ball before you hit the big ball, the earth. Number 2, the grip of this club needs to make it to the golf ball before the club head, meaning shaft lean. You hear so many people talk about shaft lean. Now, it doesn't have to be extreme. It doesn't have to be out here leading, even though some people do that with knockdown shots or even people who seriously want to deal off the club. But it does have to be winning the race to a certain extent. The grip has to outrun the club head to the golf ball, grip leading in to the shot. That's number 2. Number 3, you got to have a little bit of speed. You can't step up here and just move with no speed and expect the ball to go anywhere. So you got to have a little bit of speed. Now, this is a category that a lot of people sort of get lost in because everybody is trying to get more speed, more club head speed. More club head speed means ball go further, right? Equals better shots, better yardage, and if you can hit the ball further, it automatically means you're a better golfer, right? No, not necessarily, but you do have to have some kind of speed. And then number 4, this is another biggie, your club face to swing path relationship. The way they match up, the difference between them, square, not square, a little bit open, a little bit closed, a little bit in to out, a little bit out to in, those combinations. If you want to hit a ball fairly straight, not perfectly straight, but fairly straight, you need to have the face and the path pretty close to square to each other, and that path needs to be headed toward the target, not out in the woods. So why is it that we struggle so much to get this little ball that is just sitting still on the ground? It's not moving like in baseball. It's just sitting there. Why is it that we struggle so much to get this ball to go in the same general direction time and time again when it should be pretty simple? It's the same stick you've looked at 1,000 times. It's the ball sitting on the ground. Why is it that we struggle so much? And honestly, I think it's golf instruction. I think that they try to put everybody in this little box because for the most part, not everybody, but for the most part, we're all kind of built the same. Shoulders, elbows, arms, legs, head, neck, it's all kind of connected. There's not too many people with their head coming off of their foot, you know what I mean? So they think by that reason that we should be able to tell everybody to do the same type of stuff biomechanically, and then it should be sort of a universal methodology of being able to teach somebody how to be somewhat competent at hitting a golf ball and maybe getting down to break 80 a few times here and there. But it doesn't work that way. People have different proportions. People have different timing. People have different mobility. I mean, maybe some of you, your hips and knees work great. I know for me personally, and a lot of you guys out there, we need a little bit of axle grease on some of these joints. They don't work as well as they used to. Years of brick masonry has put me into basically a 75-year-old man's body at 45 years old. It's not the years. It's the mileage, just like Indiana Jones said. But that's, I think, maybe one of the original sins. I think you've got to be looking at this club, not us. Not us. I definitely, you need a good setup that's very similar, but it doesn't need to be somebody else's setup. It needs to be a setup that works for you, that helps to create the conditions at impact and the swing motions that you need in order to play your best golf. Now, of course, you're going to say, well, how do I find that? Really? You're not going to like the answer. It's kind of trial and error. Some people are going to do really well to set up closed. Set up closed and hit a golf ball from that position. That's going to help them. Other people, they might need to set up more open. Other people square. Some people the ball back. Some people the ball forward. There's a million different ways that you can find success. But finding success a few times out of 10 or 100 versus finding success almost all the time out of 10 times or 100, they're two very different things. A lot of people can catch lightning in a bottle and have a bucket of balls or a round of golf, or hell, even a solid month of great golf, but then it kind of goes away. Another thing that plays into this whole biomechanical stuff that they're trying to teach us is that you're different than you were yesterday, and you're going to be different tomorrow than you were today. Trying to manage your body is like trying to solve a puzzle every single time you put a club in your hand. Now, granted, you're probably not going to wake up tomorrow vastly different than you are today, but there's going to be some differences. You hear the long drivers talk about this all the time. I'm just not having a fast day. Today, I'm just not as fast. Happens all the time. Why? Why is that? Is it because, you were in a car accident in the middle of the night? No, it's because your body is constantly changing. It's growing or it's shrinking. It's getting fatter or it's getting skinnier. The cells that you have on your body today are not going to be the cells that are there next week. And even though you might feel the same and think, I've done the same thing for 40 years and I've been the same, there are differences. So trying to figure out with your conscious mind how to operate your body in a perfectly biomechanical way every single day, well, it's an exercise in futility and it'll drive you crazy. But this is the same. This is the same. It's always the same. Focus on what this is doing. You want that grip to lead that club head into impact. You want your low point to be after the golf ball or a slightly downward blow on anything sitting on the turf. You got to have a little bit of speed and get your club face to your swing path fairly square for fairly straight shots. Those four things, they're the real fundamentals. That's what I've been arguing the whole time after spending so much wasted time going through all of this other stuff. Like I said, you're probably not going to like the answer that you're just going to have to figure it out, but it's true. It's the best way to learn. Think about how you learned how to drive a car. You had some things explained to you, some of the basics, how the car functioned, but ultimately you got to get behind the wheel and feel how the car moves, when to turn the wheel, how hard you have to push the gas or the brake, how soon you have to start turning the wheel to make the turns and not run over the curb. You had to feel it for yourself. You had to figure it out for yourself. Same way with walking, same way with tying your shoes. Basics can be explained to you, but it's trial and error and just being thrown into the deep end to learn how to swim that works the best. Guys, I appreciate all the support. Be sure to go check out Marcus's channel. Remember to send him some love and some thoughts. Thanks so much for supporting this channel. See you next week.